Hey everyone, welcome to Family Sunday. Today we are talking about Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego in the fiery furnace. If you haven't watched the story video yet, go and have a watch. I'll put the link down in the description box. King Nebuchadnezzar built a great big statue, didn't he? It's hard to even imagine how big that is. And then he wanted everyone to worship it. My first question for you today is, what does worship mean? What does it mean to worship something? Maybe you could write down your own definition. Pretend you're writing it for the dictionary. What does worship mean? When I thought about it, I think my definition of worship is saying something is more important than anything else, including yourself, and showing that that's what you think through what you do. I wonder what your definitions were. I expect they were different to mine, but there's lots of different ways we can talk about what worship is. Here's my second task for you. Find yourself your Bible and look up Exodus chapter 20, verse 1 to 6. What does that say about who we should and shouldn't worship? Those verses are the 10 Commandments. They were really important to all of the Jews. Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego would have known them inside out and back to front. They wouldn't have needed to look it up. They knew they must not worship that statue. It says so, doesn't it? Don't build any statues of God and don't worship any other god. Well, they knew in their hearts what they had to do in that situation, but that must have been really scary. And they made a brave choice, I think. They didn't have to stay stood up while everyone bowed down. They could have decided to bow down, but just pray to God instead of the statue. And say, God, I know this statue is here, but I'm worshipping you, not that statue. Instead, they did something that everybody could see. Why do you think they wanted everyone to see what they were doing? I think they wanted to make it really clear that they were different and that their God was different. They wanted everyone to be able to see that they worshipped a special God. I wonder, have you ever found yourself in that situation? Maybe everyone else has been doing something and you know that you mustn't do it because you follow God. Maybe you could share those stories with each other as a family. King Nebuchadnezzar even gave them a second chance, didn't he? He gave them a second chance to bow down to that statue. But their reply is one of my favourite bits in the whole Bible. I love what they said in return. I'm going to read it to you. It's Daniel chapter 3 and I'm going to read verses 16 and 17 and 18 in fact. It says, Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego replied to him, King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us, that means save us, from it, and he will deliver us. But even if he does not, we want you to know, Your Majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. That's the statue. They said that even if God didn't rescue them from the flames, even if they were going to die, and they might well have, they were not going to worship that statue. That's such a brave thing to do, isn't it? I wonder, how would you have felt in their situation? Do you think you would have made the same choice they did? Well, Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego decided that they were sticking by God. They were going to stand up for God no matter what. And they did get thrown into that furnace, didn't they? Tied up and everything. And then something really amazing happened. There was a fourth person walking round in the furnace with them. I wonder, who do you think that fourth person was? Now, I think this is really cool because lots of people who have read and studied the Bible, people who have researched and done lots and lots of learning about the Bible, they think that that fourth person was Jesus. It says Jesus before he appeared on earth, before he was born as a baby with Mary as his mum, long before that. But remember, Jesus has been there from the beginning. And lots of people think that this was Jesus walking around in the furnace with Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego. How cool is that? There's a few places in the Bible, in the Old Testament, before Jesus was born on earth, where people think Jesus appeared. Some people think it was Jesus who walked around in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. And there's a little bit where a man called Jacob wrestles with God, and people think it was Jesus that he was wrestling with. I think that's really cool that Jesus was around from the very beginning, and he even appeared on earth a bit before he was born on earth. How amazing is that? I think Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego must have had such a cool story to tell. I wonder, what do you think Daniel thought when he heard it all? I'm sure his friends would have told him, even though he wasn't there to see. What do you think Daniel thought of their story? You know, it's good to tell people the story of when God does amazing things for us. I wonder, can you think of a story of when God has done an amazing thing for you? Might not be as big as this amazing thing in our story today. It might just be a little small thing, but that's okay. It's so exciting when God does anything for us. Maybe you could have a little practice of telling your stories to each other. And then maybe once everyone's back at school and things like that, you could have a practice of telling those stories to your friends. It's always good to share amazing stories of things God does for us. That's the end of Family Sunday for today. But don't forget that every Sunday there is a thing called Coffee and Chat on Zoom. It happens at 12 o'clock. And it's a bit like, you know, when we were at church, at the end of the service, the adults would go and get their tea or coffee, and there'd be juice or milk or something like that for the children, and biscuits. Don't forget about the biscuits. And the adults would all chat to each other, and the kids would all play together. It's a bit like that, but on our computers, and that is happening at 12 o'clock today. So maybe your family would like to come and join in. I'm going to be there, and I would love to see you. Okay, I hope I see you in a little bit. If not, I will see you soon for more stories and craft and Family Sundays. Bye!